Welcome, everybody, to Pro Wrestling Wire Radio, part of ProWrestlingWire.com. This is Rick Del Santo. I've got an extraordinary episode here for you today. Ring announcer extraordinaire, a man of many talents, I should say. Let me take that back. Someone that I've been looking forward to having on this show for a very long time, and we finally got the chance to meet last week, working Bay State Championship Wrestling together. It was an extraordinary meeting. Shawn Jacobs, what's going on?
Thank you for having me. Officially the first podcast to officially invite me. So thank you very much for being the first. So the first one running anyway. I was on Kincaid's podcast a couple years ago. So hi Kincaid, if you're watching.
I believe he watches, or at least sometimes, depending on who the guest is. But hello, Don, as well. I actually heard from Don yesterday, actually.
So, good.
I see, and I saw him a few weeks before that. Great guy, by the way, and I miss his show. And he did so many great things with Stirring the Pot, as getting a lot of indie talent in our area. Much needed exposure as well.
Absolutely. And now you're doing that right here.
Yeah, I've been going. I think I started maybe a year after him, maybe. Okay. And then it was coincidental that we Jesus Christ, my tongue. We met at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and forged this really good friendship.
He's a great guy. He's really awesome, and wish that he was around a little bit more often. So, yeah. Anyway, hi Don. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. So this does not necessarily just have to be about professional wrestling, because I know that you have an extensive radio career, as so do I. So we can talk about that as well. But first, let's get, and I know that you and I talked a little bit about professional wrestling through Messenger and stuff like that, texting and stuff like that. And so you have a very similar to background, I guess, as far as your love for professional wrestling and what you watched over the years.
We are both old. Say it, Del Santo. We're both old.
I'm getting there. I feel it actually every morning when I crawl out of bed. So, yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, tell me about your discovery of professional wrestling as a child, because it's always a very interesting. We grew up in the '80s, probably both of us, correct?
Yeah.
So it's to me, that was the greatest era of professional wrestling. And anytime I go watch professional wrestling, a lot of times I go back and watch stuff from the early to mid, maybe even late '80s. My favorite period, 1989, though, for me is my favorite year. So tell me about your discovery of professional wrestling.
I was born in '78, so I'm old, folks. I'm really old. No, I'm born in '78. I felt 8, or I felt 8 when I was 9. No, I felt old when I was 19. It was crazy. But no, I was born in '78, so wrestling was sort of on in the background. One of my very first memories, I was like 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, crawling around the floor and hearing some guy screaming in the kitchen, and it was like wrestling. It was some guy screaming a promo on television in the kitchen. But I was a huge fan of Mr. T. And he was like my hero. He and Michael Jackson.
It was 1980.
I saw Mr. T on Saturday Night Live, and he had Hogan with him, and I was like, "Yo, who's the guy? Who's the big guy here?" So from that point on, I was like, "Oh my God, who's Hulk Hogan? Who's that guy?" And then I started watching from there. I remember watching WrestleMania 2 on VHS. I rented it. I called the WrestleMania 3 hotline, and it took me a couple days to figure out what a small package was. So yeah, that's how it goes. It goes pretty far back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I watched WrestleMania 2 when they aired it on Showtime. I'm not sure if you remember that. Yeah.
No, I was raised in a really small village, so I didn't get real cable until 1986. We had TBS, and I want to say like ESPN or something. We had like 2 cable channels until 8.
Right.
Then '86 we got MTV. So that's when like the world exploded around me, and we had ESPN. So I was watching wrestling, every Saturday morning, every Sunday morning, every Saturday night, 5:05 Central Time, since I was in Wisconsin. My first show was AWA, which was a great great house show. I saw the Midnight Rockers tag up with Snuka in a six man in the main event. I saw Sherry Martel referee a match. I saw the Nasty Boys in singles action before they became Nasty Boys. So yeah, I was blown away. Brian Knobs really like stole the show that night though, because he was just really great with fans. Like he was a heel and he was just going back and forth. And I just remember just watching him because he's kind of looked like me. So I was like, oh my God, who's this guy? And they were all really friendly after the show. They all signed autographs. Um, but yeah, being a kid like in the middle of nowhere, we didn't have very many things. So like the stuff you guys had here in the Northeast, I had very little in the Midwest. But what I had was wrestling, a lot of wrestling. ESPN would show it on like 3 p.m. So either AWA or WCCW. So I at least had that, and then I had MTV in 1986. So yeah, that's what I had.
It's not a bad childhood. I mean, seriously.
No, it's really we're honestly, my fiance has relatives in the city. So two Halloweens ago, we went trick or treating in New York City, and that was a huge cultural shock to me because I was like, these kids is completely normal to just walk up and down some busy street, walk into a
Right.
bodega, whatever, get candy. And where I grew up, it was a village where you could cover the entire village in an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Right.
So yeah, huge. It was great because I had huge safe space to be me, but at the same time, like I was bullied as a kid at school and at home. Like I like pro wrestling and I like Kiss, so I was double in trouble, really. So yeah, I caught the F word a lot growing up.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I myself was bullied a lot in school, and I think my discovery of professional wrestling helped me escape a lot of the reality of going to school every day. There was other kids necessarily that liked professional wrestling. I'd always bring my magazines to school. I and we'd talk, but there'd always be the jerk offs that would always bully you for liking professional wrestling. It was always wrestling and music. In the '80s, growing up, I loved a lot of the metal that was on MTV, a lot of the regular like the rock stuff. But of course, as I got a little bit older, I discovered a lot of punk and other stuff. So my music spectrum kind of ranges all over the place as well.
Mine was okay. Growing up in Wisconsin, we didn't have any good radio. We had no rock radio, so it was all adult contemporary, a lot of polka, a lot of country. So in 1986, like I remember it was me and my friend Jake were upstairs. My mom like yelled up, "Hey, you want MTV?" I'm like, "Yeah!" And we ran downstairs, and it was "Dude Like a Lady" was playing on from Aerosmith. So that's when like so I sort of started being raised on the hair metal because I didn't like anything else, and I was like, "Yeah, guitars and pretty women and guitars." My friend Jake rented Kiss Exposed on VHS from Wolfingers in Bruce, Wisconsin. He rented that and Double Dragon. I was like, I can't wait to play Double Dragon. I don't even want to see the VHS tape. And then I saw it. I was blown away. I was like, who are these guys? And my dad was a huge fan too growing up. Um, so then I saw them when I was 11. My aunt got tickets. And back then they had general admission, which means like you like standing, like you could stand and
In like
um,
an arena.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
in Duluth at the Deck Arena. It was really awesome. So my old man schooled me, like we're sitting there and he goes, once everybody gets up and starts running to the stage, you need to get up and start running. I was like, okay. So there's probably a couple hundred people there. And then my old man like tapped me, goes, all right, got to get up and start running. I was like, okay. And then everybody just starts running to the front of the stage. Like, and I was like, okay. And I was in a sea of people for the next 3 hours and I wasn't fully grown yet. So if you've never been like in a concert, like I'm sure you have, but I mean, like you've never
Right.
been and it's really packed, really densely packed, you become part of this one giant organism of people. And I remember trying to get fresh air, and I was having to jump up and try to suck in air because it was so thick. But man, what a night! It was 1990, and Kiss was touring on the Hot in the Shade tour, and there's not many people who saw this tour, and the people who did will tell you, or they should tell you, their mind was fucking blown all the way to the back of this auditorium, and I'm not joking. Um, because like I saw Faster Pussycat open up, and I saw Slaughter open up, and I was like, that was cool. And I was into Slaughter a lot, and then the curtain drops, and you see like this 30-foot Sphinx head, like the Sphinx from
Yeah.
from Egypt, right? So
Right.
you see this big giant Sphinx head, and then the mouth opens up, and then like these laser lights shoot out, and then like Kiss, like all four members sort of stand and do a pose, and then they come down, and then they start rocking another first song. I'm getting goosebumps just like thinking about it. I even have it on like VHS. You can go see this on YouTube, the whole thing. Um, like the Sphinx talked during God of Thunder, um, and then like during like the second to the last song, I Want You, like the Sphinx like head like fell, and then like the old Kiss logo rose. Uh, what the like? I'm 11. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Not like that.
Right.
And I'm sure you could probably still see the bits and pieces of my brain matter in the back of the deck arena somewhere. But no, that was an eye-opening experience. That was May 27th, 1990 was the night I was reborn into or born into the person I am today. Like I love big performances. I love theatrical stuff. I mean, a huge, wrestling fan, Kiss fan, was a Kiss fan. I mean, I still kind of am. I saw him in 2000. I grieved. I'm good. I'm over it. Um, like my new favorite band now is Coheed. They have a huge, like, there's a huge backstory, and it's kind of like
Hmm.
Star Wars, but the music is so grand. Like, I just love that. So yeah, like I love all types of music. So I'm into everything. Like you sent me a playlist. I'm like, yo, send me a playlist of your stuff. I want to hear kind of what you're kind of into because it'll kind of like give me an idea of what your personality is like. And so I listened to all of it. I'm like, yeah, okay, so I know some of this stuff. And I was sort of ashamed I hadn't heard of some of the bands, but I know what rockabilly is and what
Right.
punk is. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm into all sorts of things. I'm sort of like ADD in a way, like where I'll really get into something for 6 months and then I'll be onto something else. Um,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's just how I work. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it's not that I completely put that away. I'd be like, all right, well, I'll put that away for a couple months, and I'll come back to it when I'm feeling that again or whatever. So yeah. Mm.
I'm similar in a way. I'll go through a phase where it's nothing but rockabilly, all right, for 6 months to a year, and I'll
Yeah.
just discover all these newer bands that not necessarily newer, but bands I may not have heard of, and all this other stuff. Put it away for a few months, and okay, I'm in a mood to listen to this album, and I'll listen to nothing but that album for 2 months and probably get sick of it, and then pull some of that other stuff back out. Like, this just this past weekend, I've just been listening to nothing but Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell from Social Distortion. And I don't know, I bought that record the day it came out back in, I think, 92, 93, something like that. Still to this day, I listen to it like it's a brand new album. So it's
Really.
quite, oh, I love that album. Yeah.
I love Social Distortion. I remember when they had that song "I Was Wrong" come out. I was a teenager. And I remember like feeling that song, like some of the dumb things that I did. I'm like, yeah, I was wrong about those things. I always felt like I didn't really have a word to explain it back then, but I'm like really like woke. Not, and I hate, people hate that term. I don't, but it was almost like woke punk because like they were talking about like real things,
Yes.
not necessarily the usual. You know what I mean? And fuck authority and all that. I have the total punk attitude. I'm just into. I mean, of course, Sex Pistols were like the first like punk band I think everybody gets into if you're
Probably. Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Although they were kind of a boy band themselves.
I'm
Um,
glad you said that because I said the same exact thing. Somebody at work mentioned, because they don't know a lot about punk. And they mentioned something about the Sex Pistols. I said, to me, punk, like Sex Pistols aren't necessarily a punk band. I mean, maybe musically, sure, and they're like a rock and roll band. but they're a glam band, but they're also like a boy band. They were put together by like a fashion designer. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
or
Yeah.
just picked.
Yeah.
They were picked very cleverly based on their personalities and their look, and basically thrown the clothes by this fashion designer. So it's ultimately they're just a punk version of a boy band.
Yeah. And I think they're a good entry point into punk, certainly, because that's the first band everybody sort of thinks of, and then go like I hate technology these days, but I do love certain facets, whatever, of technology, like Spotify. When you can go and try to discover stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you can really like find some cool stuff if you just let it like play around a little bit. So yeah, you can find anything now, which is like like today kids have it so well off when it comes to finding new music and
Yes. Yep.
gathering it, and it just and for me it's great too because I'm able to access a lot of Wendy O. Williams old stuff. I've been listening to a lot of that lately. One of her first albums was produced by Gene Simmons, and
Mm-hmm.
Eric Carr played drums on it. Vinnie Vincent played guitar on it. Ace Frehley played guitar on it. Um, and that whole album just kicks fucking ass. And I listened to it only because I was like, oh, I'm a Kiss fan, so I'll check it out. But a lot of those songs were really great. So I'm really into her and her whole attitude. And I was like, whenever I get into something, I can now like do research on it, which is great. Like we all like do the Google thing now.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we can do today that we couldn't do back then. We'd have to go to a library, and that my library didn't have those kind of books. So, but yeah, man, I love music. Music is what moves me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a huge wrestling fan too, but I love all pop culture stuff. So yeah, I'm a TV, movie, not so much movies, but TV and music. So yeah.
I could say movies, but I just don't have enough time to sit and watch a lot of movies. You know what I
And
mean?
I've
It's
seen
just
everything I want to see, kind of. That's where I'm
yeah,
like, that's where I kind of feel old. I'm like, well, there's not really much out there that I really want to see that really excites
right.
me. And I used to think I was a horror movie fan, but everything I really see that's horror, I kind of just it's either
What
Ghost or something. Yeah,
it's after the
I was,
'90s. Yeah,
yeah, I was a huge when I was like 7 or 8. The USA Network used to play movies all the time, like cult movies all the time.
it was a different channel at that time. They
I
had
loved USA Network. Up All Night on the weekend were fantastic. You would see stuff you would never see anywhere else. But I saw Night of the Living Dead when I was like 7 or 8, and it scared the hell out of me.
they
Um,
had Captain Bizarro, if you remember correctly. Was it no Cap? The hell was it? Commander USA, Captain USA.
yep,
The
Captain
hell was
USA,
Cap-
and
yeah, the
then
Kung
Gilbert
Fu Saturday.
Gottfried,
Yep.
and yeah, Rhonda Shear with Up All, yeah. So
Yeah.
you would see, Hell Comes to Frogtown. You would see that. Night of the Creeps. So
The first time I ever saw Toxic Avenger was on USA. Yeah.
yes. Oh my
Yep.
God, yeah. So Um, I saw Night of the Living Dead, and I used to. There's two places I used to rent from. Well, three actually. So the mileage that I used to do would be like maybe 2 to 4 miles every weekend. All right, I want to go over here and go see what kind of movies they have. All right, well then I'm going to drive the opposite side of town, go see what they have. I rented Night of the Living Dead so many times.
It's one of
Plus,
my
I'm
favorite
into the
movies. Yeah.
Romero line of zombie movies, and I got into Walking Dead until like season 8, and I kind of jumped out. And that's another thing I can do. I could watch something for like 5, 6 seasons, be like, yeah, I don't like this, I'm out, and
All
not
right.
watch the rest of it. So my
I
girl did this. My girl did the same thing with Supernatural. We watched like 15 seasons. She's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm like, I don't blame
with
you.
the Walking Dead, I lasted 9, and then I kind of then it was like COVID hit right around the ninth season, and then I came back sort of and watched it later, and but I was kind of like, oh man, they're just doing the same thing over and over for years. It seemed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm waiting for it to die so I can just go watch it like when
yeah,
it's dead. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I love that it got so many seasons, and zombies got so much love. But I was like, all right, well, I think I'm good now. Thank you. Like,
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah, oversaturation, man. Like Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, After the Walking Dead, the Talking Dead. Like it was
I watch
wow.
it all every single week, and that's the worst part about it. I didn't get bored of it, even or I felt obligated to, I guess, because of my love. I was like, it's here. It's kind of like professional wrestling. Pro wrestling is on.
Kinda,
I mean,
kinda.
but there's a lot less of that. But pro wrestling, there's a lot more of. Wrestling is on literally every single day of the damn week. So,
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of like pop culture things that are like pro wrestling, I just watched this dumb TV show called NOS 4A2. I'm not calling it Nosferatu. NOS 4A2 with Zachary Quinto. Zachary, I must have owed somebody some money, Quinto. The story's written by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. I'm sure the book is much better. But I watched 2 seasons of this terrible show. That is like pro wrestling because the antagonist is like the bad guy, and well, you know, the bad guy. But that was a dumb statement. But the bad guy, like he gets his comeuppance every once in a while, but he generally gets away. So you're like, oh, you really want to see this guy just get his. And it almost never happens. And he's got like a partner with him that's helping him do all his evil deeds. And it's so it. I was like, why do I hate this show so much? The drama is really good. Like the Joe Hill can really write like drama between families. They do really, really well with that. And that could be a monster in itself. But the whole like, is he a vampire? He's not really a vampire. He's a soul sucking vampire, which we'll figure it out later. But here you go. And but I realized like that's why I love the show so much because I was just waiting for the enemy, Charlie Manx, to finally
right.
get his, and like he kind of does, but he kind of doesn't. So you're like, oh, I'm just so yeah, like pro wrestling, I was like invested in seeing
Yes.
Charlie Manx get dead, and I was like, that's why I like it. It's like pro wrestling. Okay, good job. So yeah, I hated that show. So there you go. Go watch Nosferatu if you want. It's not a real vampire, it's something else. So enjoy.
So my next question: how did you get into the world of professional wrestling? Because that's always a fun one. I mean, I kind of did I guess, by accident in a way. But go ahead.
I was on the radio. I was working for a station called 94 Rock in Albany. If it rocks, it's 94 Rock. We advertising is a huge part of radio. Huge, huge, huge. My first day of radio school. I had to go to radio school, by the way. Side note, I hate podcasters mostly. You're a radio guy, Del Santo, so like
Jeez.
you're
Oh,
off the
all
hook.
right, all right.
You're
I
off
took
the hook.
offense to
You're off
that
the
for a
hook and fun.
second.
But okay, so here's my thing with podcasters. I went to radio school. I went to debt for this.
Hmm.
Um, I went to school for six. It was a 6 month program, and then you get an internship, and then after that internship, you're on your own, right?
Right.
So usually you have to wait to do your internship. And I started my internship 3 months early, like halfway through. I started working at 94 Rock. Um, so my instructor at the radio school, I have to mention this, Jam and Jim Steele, worked closely aside Todd Pettengill and Michael Cole both. So I'm sort of a broadcast cousin of Michael Cole and Todd Pettengill because of the relation of my instructor to them. So I'm working on the radio. I secured myself. I was like one of the youngest salaried DJs here in the area. That's so they can just get me to work nonstop and just pay me the same rate. So, and I was happy to do it. But part of the thing of radio is advertising, and our instructor told us radio isn't about music. This is in 2003. Radio isn't about music. You think it's about
Hmm.
music, but it's about commercials. It's about advertising. It's about selling you something. So that's what radio is now. And we're like, yeah, 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 yeah. But he was right. It was about advertising. So one of my jobs was to make commercials, to edit commercials, to make them in the studio, voice some, produce some, And every once in a while, we would be working with some of these companies that did advertising.
Mhm.
So I had to do the long story, but we got there. So it was Lebanon Valley was hosting a wrestling show here in New York, and so we did some ads for him. I produced some ads, and then we had a couple of the wrestlers on to interview or whatever. One of them was the Texas Outlaw, and I totally just like shat on him. I feel so bad now as a professional, but and then another wrestler named Good Lord Willing, who is like an old British white face, white wig. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, love that guy. So I got to know him a little bit, and then he was like, "Yo, you got to come out to our shows. You should do something with us." And then I was supposed to be involved in an arm wrestling match with another guy from another radio station. And then the night of the show got canceled. So like I almost got there in like 2005. And then because I knew Good Lord Willing, I met a couple other people through him. And in 2009, there was a wrestling school in Cohoes, and I was living in Cohoes, New York. So like the wrestling school was like literally a block and a half down from where I was living. I was like, yo, this is great, cool. I have to go down there. And I went down there for a couple of days. I did some training. I got my ass kicked, and I didn't go with it back then. I didn't realize that I probably could be an announcer and do that thing. But I decided I was going through a divorce at the time, so I ended up just being drunk instead. So it was a bad choice on my behalf to get drunk all the time. But anyway, 2015 rolled around, and the same guy I messed around with in the training center in Cahoes ran a commercial on television, and I was like half in the bag. And I was like, "Oh, you should hire me, and I can do a much better version of that commercial than the guy who's voicing the ad." He was the guy voicing the ad. He could have just told me to screw up, and that would have been it. But he didn't. He was really cool. He's like, "All right, send me a thing." So I like recorded a thing. I sent it to him, and I started becoming like the voice guy for In Your Face Wrestling on for the commercials.
Right.
So the commercials would air like during like the local spots during Raw, which was really really cool. But I didn't have cable at the time, so I never got to see any of them. I got to see them online, but I never got to see them like during Raw or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's when I first got my start in 2015. I messed around for like a year until In Your Face Wrestling closed, and then I went back to being drunk for a few years. I got sober in 2017 at the tail end.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was tough. And then I waited 2 years to be clean before I decided to go out publicly to do anything.
Mhm.
Um, I was on the radio before, so I had some local, I'm like local D-list celebrity, you know what I mean? So I would
Right.
every once in a while people would see me, and if I went out, people would say hello, and it it all became it all felt very fake to me at the end, just because of do they like me because of my job, or is it because they like me because of me? And all that kind of stuff went through my head, and with my whole divorce going on, and that just messes with you, completely anyway.
I've been
Um,
there. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't really feel comfortable doing anything publicly for
Hmm.
years, and then I waited a couple years after I got sober to answer an ad for Truly Independent Wrestling. It was like June or July of 2019. And I had very little confidence that I could get the job,
Hmm.
um, for some weird reason. I had been working for like 10 years at a strip club, running a live mic for 10 years. So, like, I was busting people's chops like for the last 3 years. Everybody who walked to the door, dancers, everybody. So, I was really good at like just talking on the mic.
Right.
But I was like, oh, I don't know if they'll say yes or whatever. So, I had to build up my confidence for a couple hours, and then I wrote the thing. I was like, yeah, blah, blah. And then they had me, and they kept having me, and they still have me. So I've been with TIW for 5 years now. Um, So Scott Fellows, who fantastic gentleman who runs a promotion, believed in me and continued to believe in me and still believes in me, which is awesome. So um, that was where I got to start. That's where like I got that job, and then another announcer locally here, Mike Falvo, couldn't
No,
make
Mike. Yeah.
yeah, couldn't. Hi, Mike. Could not make the show up in Vermont, and so they're looking for a ring announcer. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try this one, and I got the gig, and I was like, cool, and I'm like, 4 hours away, cool. So that was fun.
Maybe got $30 a night, maybe
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
4 hour
No, I
drive.
mean that's what wrestling is. But the
Right.
travel, oh my God, it's a gorgeous drive up through Vermont. Like it's where they wrestle, where they have their like shows for ETWA is like literally like 5 minutes from the Canadian border. So
Right.
you're driving all the way up there, and you get to see all the beautiful mountains, and it's just gorgeous. And a lot of Vermont is creepy too, but haunted.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of woods.
Totally. There's an
Yeah.
old airstrip. Stay away. Can you hear me? We good?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
All right. No, there's a haunted airstrip in Vermont. I'll tell you about it sometime when if I want somebody to die or something. No, it's I went out to I don't know Somerset, Summer something
Is that Massachusetts? Somerset?
airstrip something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
um, somebody told me I should go out camping there because it's like an old airstrip and people go out there and they camp for months or whatever, and it's a good place to hide away from society, I guess. Um, because there's no phone service for like within 30 minutes like when you it's nestled between these mountains like really like densely packed between these mountains so like there's no cell phone service no nothing. I saw some things up there. I was like I'm out and yeah. Vermont, you're creepy people anyway.
Into like Burlington and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
I mean look up the Bennington Triangle, look it up, it's real.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's I was sort of close to that area. That airstrip was sort of close to that area, and uh, yeah, it's creepy. There's a real creepy feel out there. I like being out in nature, but that was creepy. Mm.
Yeah. So over the years, you expanded your resume basically, and how sent out your information, stuff like that, and just try to get bookings elsewhere. Right?
Yeah,
It's not that easy. I'll tell you that much.
it's it's not, but it has been remarkably easy for me. I don't want to like okay, I've had remarkable luck,
Mhm.
and I've been able to read the right people, meet the right people. I've been able to work for a lot of different companies. Battlefront Pro Wrestling, Shut Up and Wrestle. I worked for a few times. Uh, uh, um, there's so many. Midget Wrestling Warriors. I did ring announcing for a show with them once. Um, I ran sound for a few shows like Immortal. And I ring announced for Immortal a couple times. That was kind of cool. Teddy Long called a tag team match on my microphone player. It's kind of cool. I still use it because I need it player. So yeah, man. It was easier to find ring announcer gigs right away. Maybe just people were having a harder time finding one. But yeah, so I was working for like five companies for like a while. Like last year, I was working Top Rope Promotions as a ring announcer. Um, but I sort of hit a wall, man. The problem with me is I'm 6 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Um, no, I'm bigger than a lot of the wrestlers, and my look isn't one that looks like a ring announcer. Announcers have a typical look.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say
Mhm.
what that look is because I don't want to disparage anybody. But ring announcer, there's a look, and some ring announcers have it, I don't. I don't have that look. I try to be like when I ring announce, I dress down. Um, I try to be as professional and I try to disappear in the ring, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the referee, you know what I mean? Like I try to not hog the scene. Here's a fun fact. I've never said my own name on the microphone as a ring announcer, not once.
Really?
Yeah, I could never work it out in my head. Like, how do I introduce myself? And to me, I could never work it out in my head where it wouldn't sound egotistical to me. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm just like, it doesn't matter what my name is. You'll figure it out. Like, if I do a good job, you'll find out later or sooner or later. So,
Right.
like, that part isn't important to me. So, there's a couple times where I've secretly wanted to announce my name before I like came out of the curtain, like it's a different voice, because I could totally do it. But no, um, but I have a lot of fun with the ring announcing. But um, like I said, I've sort of hit a wall, and there's so much more that I want to do, which is good news for everybody else who wants to do some ring announcing because, um, like I won't be doing as much anymore, just because I did 5 years in radio and I did 10 years at a strip club, and what I really want to do is like color commentary. That's what I really like, color commentary, and I want to manage. Like I want to
Right.
manage wrestlers. That's the ultimate dream. Is to manage a champion, manage tag team champions, and to put my name out there as one of the better promo cutters, one of the better talkers, better managers out there. So that's I really have been struggling this year, 2023, really, to find more color commentary gigs.
Hmm.
That's a really tough job to find. Um, I worked in radio. You worked in radio,
Correct.
and when I worked in commercial radio, um, technology came around, and technology was like, "Hey, instead of being here live at the station, you could pre-record your voice, and then you can go home and listen to yourself on the radio. And instead of paying you 5 hours a night, we'll pay you 1 hour a night."
Yeah.
And then after a while, they're like, "Hey, we got this guy in Dallas, and he's going to record all the radio stations, like
Yeah.
within the quadrant.
It's all syndicated,
So, and
basically.
you can go
Yeah.
home to the unemployment line."
Yep.
I was like, "Well, shit." And a lot of my heroes got fired before I did. So it was like, it was just a matter of time before it happened to me. Um, but I notice out here in pro wrestling, the same thing is sort of happening now, where
Hmm.
if you want to try to get a color commentary gig or whatever, you're sort of competing against some people who get hired to do it at home, like record it in their studio, and then they send it back to the promoter, and then they splice it together with their footage, and you have a professional presentation.
Right.
Um, there's a guy right now, Peter DeLong. Great job, seriously. Like he's got great energy. I would hate him if he wasn't so good, and he is. He really, 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 really is good. He's good. Um, but I wish that I had more opportunities to do that live. So yeah, that's been a real struggle. It's like, oh man, how? Yeah, he's really good too, man. All right, well, it's you have to be a professional. You know what I mean? And that's the game. So you just have to figure out the game, and thankfully, like there's some promoters who who really believe in me. So who've allowed me to sort of take the reins. There's some wrestlers who really believe in me, like Jobs up in ETWA, who I'm
Hmm.
managing now. Jobs has been there 15 years, been their top guy for 15 years. Like, if you go up to Derby, Vermont, or Newport, Vermont, and you ask them who Jobs is, they'll tell you who Jobs is. Like everybody
Hmm.
knows who Jobs is, and Jobs is one of the most fantastic wrestlers I've ever met. Um, he works harder than anybody I've ever met in this business, and just because I've seen him work, and I've seen like Jobs has like a whole sheet like he's got a whole poster board of like his workouts, and he keeps tabs like every day. Like he writes down like his numbers. He does diets. He works out. Like he really puts so much into it. And then on top of that, Jobs is one of the greatest, most kindest, most caring people I've ever met. Like
Mhm.
I drove up to his show, and one of my tires deflated because Jobs lets me like stay at his place when I go up there. So I don't
Right.
have to drive back 4 hours in the middle of the night. I could just stay at his place and then get up in the morning and check out the beautiful scenery on the way home. But like, so I wake up and like one of my tires is deflated. I'm like, oh great, I have to put the donut on. And then I look on the other side and like it's like half deflated. And so I'm like, well, great, both my front tires are deflated. I have 4 hour drive home. How am I gonna get this done? I had like $75 on me. Um, so Jobs like knows everybody. So Jobs like, yeah, I know a guy who is selling like I said, a 4 tires for like $50 a couple of weeks ago. Let me get a contact with him. So he can't. Yeah, I got those tires. Drove down, we got the tires, and then like we drove up to another one of his friend's house, and his friend put on the tires and did the whole thing. I was like, Jobs knows everybody. He knows like everybody knows him, so he's just a fantastic guy. So,
Right.
um, and he's seen that I've been doing a lot of work too, and he's like, all right, cool. So let's get together, and um, so yeah, now I get to manage him, and that's an honor
Mhm.
to like usually when you start managing people, like usually manage somebody, on the low end, and then you sort of, rise up a little
Work your
bit.
way up. Right.
Yeah. And look, when I first started managing, like I got some taste of that in World of Hurt, for Music Man. So that was a lot of fun. And it gave me like a taste of what, being a manager is like. I got to work against Mikey Cheese, um, who is Mikey man. I hate Mikey Cheese. Not really. I like him, but I hate you. He's a professional. I really like Mikey Cheese. I like working with him, even though he's a rotten, evil, good guy. But he was fantastic. Music Man is brand new, and I was giving him some ideas. I'm like, yo, what if he did this? What if he did that? And he got one of my ideas, so I'm like, I can't wait till he busts it out on everybody. It'll be awesome. But no spoilers here. But yeah, no. So being able to manage Jobs is it's an honor and it's a responsibility too because he's one of their top guys. So like all eyes on us now, sort of. So yeah, so I'm. This is my. To me, this is my like my first, my first real like taste of like managing, and um, I've got much bigger ideas for this year. So yeah, it's gonna be a great year. I'm just, I'm getting antsy. Yeah.
Hopefully, one day we'll share the booth together. Now that you're interested in commentary
I
as
hope
well.
so.
I mean, that'll be
Please,
awesome. Yeah.
please, because God
Yeah.
darn it, man, I really no, I really yeah, I get to do the color. I talk, see, blah 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 blah. Blah. Um, I work for New World Wrestling Extreme. I work for Trooper. A lot of people
Yep.
know Trooper. Trooper he's
Yep.
in the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yep. I was
Fantastic
I
guy.
there?
Like
Yeah.
his setup blows my mind. Like the chairs that we sit in for color commentary are 10 times better than what they have at Impact Wrestling. At Impact Wrestling, they sit on steel chairs. Can you believe it? Can you
Oh,
believe it?
I attended an Impact show in what was September. Yeah. I was literally
Were you in
behind.
White Plains?
Yes. Or is that White
Did you
Plains or
miss
was it?
me?
Why were you there? For I was
Dude,
there for what was it?
I
Victor
love this. Okay. Yes, I
was
was there. I was there for all
for
3 days. Yeah, that was my
Vic.
second time working for
All right,
him.
Victory Road. Was there?
Yeah,
That was there. Yeah.
I was there as Santino's security that night at the pay-per-view. So
I don't know how I literally
okay,
don't
I
know.
know how you missed me. I know how you missed me. Okay, so secret. Usually when the big companies have crew members, all
Hmm.
the crew members dress in all black,
Okay.
black polo, black pants, black shoes. If you've noticed, they all disappear, all of them. We all just disappear into like the background. We're just like not even there. We're just like floating heads almost. that's the one thing I noticed because I'm very perceptive, and I'll um from like growing up being a wallflower a lot, just like sitting there and just observing. But I was
Right.
like, I noticed that we just sort of become part of the scenery, which is great. Like that's what's supposed to happen with the crew members. But yeah, I was there. That was my second time working for Impact, and getting to watch Bully Ray in the back do a promo, watch Artie Evans in the back work it out. Um, I love Artie Evans, by the way. I was a huge Archie fan from
Hmm.
Takara. Um, his his character was levels above many others. And he no longer wrestles. Unfortunately, he does a lot of background work. But I got to watch him work. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like standing next to Santino, like he's standing right next to me, and I'm there's stuff going on, so I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm going to just stand respectfully. But I'm like, Santino wasn't really half that bad, was he? He was kind of cool. And you like in my mind, I'm going over all this stuff I used to think was silly, but now here's this guy standing right next to me, larger than life, like really like large. Like Santino's a big guy, but like yeah, and it's really cool to know that what they're doing, like an impact for for promos and whatnot.
Hmm.
It's the same stuff we're doing out in the indies. So like we're all on the right track for doing this. So yeah, it was my second time working for Impact when they worked in Albany for Bound for Glory, and then the TV tapings the day after. So I worked that. That was a very long 3 days, but it was here in town, which was great. But the White Plains was freaking awesome because I got to share a hotel with Jeff Nova and Richie the Madman. Um, you shared a hotel with those two guys. It's crazy, seriously crazy because they're young. They have a lot of energy, and I felt like the old guy, like, all right, come on, kids, settle down. It's like 3 in the morning. Richie the Madman's watching Grease, and then we're all like singing Grease songs at 3 in the morning. And that's after we picked up some the Laredo kid, I think his name is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we picked him up at the airport, so his plane was like really late, so we didn't pick him up till like 2:30 in the morning. So we just got to hang out, and yeah, I got to you know, PCO got hit by a car during that pay-per-view, Victory Road,
Yeah.
right? Dude got hit by a car like in this film promo in the parking lot, right? Earlier that day, part of my job was as security to stand outside where the wrestlers pull up with their vehicles. And my job was you can't come in unless you have a VIP pass, right? You can't come in. Everybody has their VIP passes except for one guy does not have his VIP pass. I almost lost my job because of that. But I was told nobody gets in without a VIP pass. Nobody. So I got that autism. I'm like, you know what? Nobody gets in. I don't like. I was told you don't have the thing. You can't come in. Um, and then the guy came out. He's like, you did a great job. Thanks for doing your job. All right, you're welcome. But PCO pulls in, and PCO's got the he's got a Mustang rag top, gorgeous, right? He's styling. He gets out and he goes in his thick accent. He goes, "Will I be able to pull out?" I'm not going to do his accent because I don't do his accent. If I'll be able to pull out, I have enough room. I'm like, yeah, you don't have enough room in that. And then like I'm watching the monitor backstage and I see he gets hit by a car. I'm like, nope, I didn't. Nope, I had nothing to do with that. I'm not saying a word, and I haven't told anybody until now about that. Yeah, that was crazy because like I swear to God, he knew like to ask me that question just to mess with me. I don't know. I swear to God, because I was like, he he just got hit by a car, and he asked, "Oh man, no, that was cool. That was really really cool for me."
If you watch that video back, you will see me sitting in the front row for the entire show. And Tommy,
Now I'm thinking about it. I do remember seeing something like, "Hey, Del Santo's there."
Tommy
Um,
Dreamer took my bottle of water and spit it in in Kenny King's face, and I'm on camera handing him the water for that during that match.
right. I'm just remembering now the post I saw on Facebook. Right. Okay. Yeah, that was. Were you there for the Impact 1000 episode, or were you there for
That
the?
was the next night, I think, and
Okay, so you were there for the pay per view. Okay,
yeah,
because
I wasn't driving
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
for both days. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was they really have a great time. The setup, like the when they bring everything in, is just amazing how professional it is. Like it really, um, the biggest surprise I think from all of that, like from working White Plains and being on screen, was the payday. I was like, ooh, I don't want to say how much it was, but man, it paid for my 3 days hotel at the Hilton. Um, and yeah, I split it with two other boys, but I still had money left over afterwards too, like a good chunk. I was like, yo, pretty cool. Because I don't care about that so much. I mean, yeah, I do, but I don't think about the money thing so much. I always think about, all right, what, especially now, I'm 45, right? So I'm on that whole like trajectory of whatever I do from now on, from this point forward, has to mean something.
right.
And I've been traveling for 5 years. I've been averaging 1,700 miles a month on my car. Um, my girl wants to have my baby soon, so like I have to. I really want to do stuff now that matters, and stuff that yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm like I'm not doing as much ring announcing anymore. I
Hmm.
want to do more managing and color commentary because that's where I really feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, really, yeah.
One of my things is that I want to do stuff that my kid, do something that my kid could look and be like, "Oh, my dad did this." You know what I mean? So, and I'm sitting here. I do commentary for several different organizations here in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and I do and I do obviously this podcast, and I write for a website. So I want to do something that my kid could be somewhat proud of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can tell you, like, just from like an outsider observer's view, like you're doing a fantastic job because,
I
like,
appreciate that. Thank
you
you.
you certainly have the coverage. Like that's, like, well, this guy's like doing a lot of cool stuff. I gotta, and I'm glad that we finally like met up because
Absolutely.
I'm like, who is this guy, and like, how do I join him? How do because I've been trying. Oh my God, I've been trying to get in so many color commentary teams, and it just like I did. It boggles my mind, Del Santo. I did 5 years in radio, 10 years at a strip club every single night, running a live microphone, and like nobody wants to give me the color commentary booth. What is happening here? So yeah, it's been and so I've been trying to do my own podcast, and when I was done with the radio, actually when I was in radio, when I was in the midst of doing talk shows, um, we were the first talk show on the radio here to implement podcasts
Mhm.
with the show. So we would, put up the 3 parts every
Right.
hour or whatever. We put it, we save it, put it up, save it, put it up, save it, put it up.
Yep.
So that's what we did. Um, and I made so much money for that radio station, and I didn't get a dime for that. But I was really proud that I was the first one to like implement the podcasting. So I was like, yo, we should do this podcasting thing. And everybody's like, what's podcasting? Like, nah, it sounds stupid, but it's just, you just put the audio up online. That's it. It's really cool. And it's easy. And it's fucking cheap. And we were running it. There's a host called iPodNetworks.com. And I was on iPodNetworks.com for 6 years. I ran a podcast. As soon as I was fired on the JR show, for calling somebody a bitch in the morning show. Look, I deserved it. I was in a miserable state at that time, but I went on to another radio station after that, and hosted my own nightly show, and that's where I ended up meeting the strip club owner, and that's how I got into that whole the whole thing. I met Penny Flame. Penny Flame wouldn't stop calling me at the radio station for like months. She's a cool chick, though. She's really, really cool. But so what the hell was I saying? What was I saying, Del Santo?
Talking about being fired, being the night show, and then
Yeah. So I ran podcasts because I went from like producing all these commercials and voiceovers and podcasts. I was like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm like, well, I still have a computer. I have a microphone. I got a couple guys that used to call the show all the time, like the P1s. I'm like, all right, let's get those guys. And
Mhm.
we had our own show for 6 years called the $5 Freak Show. And we uploaded the MP3s at first on iPodNetworks.com, and then in 2008 we started going live. So Ustream used to be a thing. Ustream.com. I don't know
Yep.
where it is anymore, but Ustream used to offer you could just stream live for free, and you could put a widget up on your fucking website. So not a widget, but a widget, whatever, a
You did
thing.
embed
Yeah,
it or
you would
whatever. Yeah.
embed the window on the thing. So
Right.
we had a little chat room on the right hand side of the thing. We would tell everybody it. We did it every Saturday. So we did a 3 hour show every Saturday. We tell everybody, to go to the website. If we're not live, refresh your website, and we should be live, whatever. So I did that for 6 years, and that was a lot of fun too, because um, I like producing. I love producing audio bits, making imagers, like all the stuff you hear at the radio. If you still listen to radio, all you old folks, the
Nope.
stuff that you hear between the songs, like you're listening to this station. Somebody makes all those, right? Like somebody produces all those, and that's what I used to do.
Right.
So I used to love doing that, and we became more of a like a morning zoo, but for podcasts, because I had like a little soundboard. Like I had these triggers that were set to every letter on the keyboard. So like it was all in technology peaked with Windows XP. Can I tell you? Because it was all in one inclusive system. I had a sound blaster, sound card, so I could run music through my computer. Had a microphone through a mixing board into the computer, and I had live effects that were triggered on the keyboard through the computer. One computer, and I did all one fucking thing. And then I started doing webcams, and I hated doing webcams. I always told myself I had a face for radio, and I really do, or for managing bad guys. So yeah, so I did podcasts for 6 years, and that was a lot of fun. And I just got tired of that because a 3 hour show every weekend, plus the show prep for the show, was like 4 to 5 hours a week, maybe more. Um, I wrote a lot of the stuff. It was a lot of just funny news stories, stupid observations, whatever.
Right.
But I did 300 episodes, um, 300 3 hour episodes, and I was good with that. So now I'm trying to do podcasts to get back in the habit, and to also show like promoters, hey, I can talk. Like
Yes.
so, and submitting single man color commentary things don't work for me, man. Like it
Right.
doesn't work for me, brother. Cause I mean I can do it, but I'm just talking to myself, and it doesn't feel legit to me. It doesn't feel real to me. Like, um, I was recording a thing earlier for ETWA, and there was like 19 takes. I was like, why? I couldn't figure it out in my mind, like what was going on. And because like we're not live. I'm not live. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
have to be
Yes.
live. Like where I'm talking to you, I can talk just fine because we're live. We're not live, but
Live to
we're
tape.
live in the moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're having a
Yep.
conversation. So it's much easier for me to talk to somebody than to talk to myself, because they always say like pretend as if you're talking to your best friend.
Right.
I'm like, man, my best friend is dead. So shit. It's no just hard because I have the ADD, so I'll look around the room and things, you know what I mean? I'll get distracted by some stupid thing, and then I'll be like, oh, what was I talking about? Oh, right, the thing. So I told myself I was going to try to do every genre of podcast or mediaing. Like, okay, I did a watch along. I just like uploaded that to Spotify.
Hmm.
I couldn't upload it to YouTube or Daily Motion, but somehow it worked on Spotify. So go check it out, I guess. It was New Year's Revolution 2006. I didn't get to see the show. It was here in Albany. I have the chair, um, but it was I hadn't seen the pay per view until I did the watch along, because I there was a terrible time in wrestling. Really,
Yeah.
2006 wasn't a great time. Um, I was at a Monday Night Raw in 2002. It was the very first Monday Night Raw after they did the brand split.
Mhm.
So like Triple H, Ric Flair gave Triple H the belt, the undisputed belt, the first time they showed that thing. Um, Brock Lesnar knocked me over on his way in to beat up the Hardys. That was kind of cool. But wrestling back then kind of sucked because 2002 when I saw Raw, I was trying to do a watching along with that, and it was really really hard to do it. Um, but like that when I saw Raw in 2002, that was before Cena, that was before Batista, that was before like Orton. Only Brock Lesnar had like showed up at that point.
Mhm.
So we hadn't even gotten to like the meat and potatoes of the whole situation yet. So
Right.
yeah, that was a terrible time in wrestling, I gotta say.
So, what do you have coming up for shows?
Man, ETWA. Well, you know what? Can I run down? Because I'm working for like three joints, right? Three wrestling
Do it
companies,
all. Yeah.
and
Let's put it
I
out
have
there.
like I have notes written down of like who all the current champions are. Because I was
Absolutely.
telling, okay, so DeSanto came to me, um, and I said something online last week, on Facebook saying I wish there was a podcast that covered the indies like as a wider net sort of, and I know how extremely difficult that has to be. So it's like, well, what if they did like a Northeast podcast where it was just all the Northeast? And so I'm like, well, here, let me give you an idea of what that could sound like. And you could have me on, but you could also have like, I know you have Matt DeCord on all the time, but
Oh
like
yeah, he's on all the time. Yep.
GK Durant, you know who GK Durant is,
I know
right?
him. I know.
All right, so
Yeah.
GK does.
I worked with him at Tetsu a few months back.
Okay, so GK does announcing and refereeing for like so
Yep.
many like companies. So
Yep.
like it's guys that I figured like you pull together who work at multiple places so you could come back and be like, yes, I work here, here, near, and here. Here's the wrestlers to look out for. Here's a wrestler that just debuted. Blah 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 blah. So let me just give you the rundown. I can tell you we can see me next month or whatever.
Absolutely.
All right, so um, coming up in April, April 27th will be the first date for New World Wrestling Extreme. Currently, your champions are women's champion, of course, is Ariel. She's one of the best women wrestlers in the Northeast, and that's why she is women's champion in New World Wrestling Extreme. The tag team champions in New World Wrestling Extreme, led by their manager RJ Rizzo, the box office attractions. Um, man, Dino Constantino, and they're so fantastic. They're so good. Um, and I wish I was managing them, but yeah, they're your champions right now. Open weight right now. Okay, so things get a little complicated, right? Because the open weight championship is sort of being defended here and down in Thunder Championship Wrestling down in Florida. So currently, your open weight champion who just became champion, Lucas Chase, beat Gus De La Vega down in Florida for the belt. So he may be champion by the time he returns here in April 27th. That's one thing I forgot to write down where that's going to be at, but it'll be online. You can see all the April 27th. That's when they return. So those are the champions there. Fantastic. Look, there's usually I can't stand those those hick farmer gimmicks. But
Right.
New World Wrestling Extreme got a tag team, and they're fantastic. Bub and Jeb the Juckets,
Hmm.
um, really very annoying. They sent me home with a chicken. I couldn't eat it. Um, they are having the times of their lives. They are just, and they're so funny. They're like the funniest farmer tag team I've ever seen. Like really, really funny. So check those guys out if you can. Stevie Legend, a legend in the making, my man. He's been wrestling in New World Wrestling Extreme, of course, BCW, and everywhere he sees me, he's got to follow me. I love you, Stevie. Um, Patrick Saint, ooh,
That kid, that guy is awesome.
that
Like,
man,
yeah.
500 degrees, hot, hot, hot. I
Yes.
love that guy. Seriously, like big time right there. Like that dude, if he does all the right things, keep himself healthy, that dude is going places. I love
Yes,
that
sir.
guy. And of course, I can't. GK Durant, the ring announcer, like extraordinaire. Like seriously, he's been around the business for like 15 years, I think it is now, maybe
Yeah.
20. Not quite sure, but he's been around a really, really long time. So put the respect on that name, GK Durant. Thank you, GK. If you're listening, if you're not, you should be. TIW, Truly Independent Wrestling. That's where I first started out. Right now, their champion is Scotty Arrow with his manager, Damon Ravage. The Empire State champion, Black Rose. He's fantastic. Black Rose is another big star. Once he starts like getting around places, he's like the most dangerous. I say little guy because he's not little, but like he's not a big guy, but he's
Hmm.
dangerous and he's quick and he's just vicious. I love him. And of course, BCW, they just had 3 tag team qualifier matches over the weekend. Um, so we got 3 tag teams who are vying for the tag team titles. That should be interesting. I know one of them is Buff Inc. Ha ha! I don't know how that
How,
happened.
how did that happen?
I don't know. And then Alliance of Destruction. Those guys are great. I love those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. And then of course you have BD Cruz as your champion in BCW.
Yep.
Uh, Big Daddy, and then of course Shotgun Adams. Holy moly!
That
Got
dude's
to give it
good.
that.
Yeah.
Looking
He.
refreshed.
Yeah.
Um, really blew me away at the last show. He really did. Not just his in ring, but outside the ring too. Just a real pro.
Yeah.
Shotgun man. Like I earned like a new level of respect from me over the weekend. So I got to put that name out there. Um, Fox Vineyard, pick up after yourself. All your confetti, you bastard. Okay, so I have to tell you Fox Vineyard's band because his band is really good. Zoo Green 6, check it out on Spotify. He's not paying me to say that. He couldn't pay me to say that. Couldn't pay me enough to say that. Um, but Fox Vineyard has been wrestling around here for many, 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 many years.
Hmm.
And like when you see him, you're like, oh my God, look at that guy.
No,
Um,
I've seen him when he came into PAPW a few times, and yeah, he's a very
Now he's
very
cool.
talented young man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Watch him.
cool, young
Yeah.
man. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
but Zoo Green 6, that's his band. Fantastic band. Like seriously, he's got a Happy Here, I think it's called.
Hmm.
One of my like most favorite like songs. Seriously, I was like, wow, this is you. This is how do you have so much time, Fox? How do you do it? I'm still trying to figure that out. And then ETWA, uh February. Sorry, that's already happened. March 9th. Saturday, March 9th. We're going to be at the Elks Lodge in Derby, Vermont, which is like across the bridge from Newport. They're both 2 tiny villages, and together they share some brain cells. Okay. Tag team champions right now, the Lost Boys, the team of Ethan and Junie. Your heritage champion is Sigma. You may have heard his name. Sigma right now is in Japan
Wow.
at the Just Tap Out Dojo, Taka Michinoku. So he's achieving his dreams in Japan. Like
Nice.
fantastic dude. Um, like yeah, he's fantastic outside the ring too. Really, really cool guy. So he's in Japan right now, so he's not really able to defend his belt until I think April, maybe. If he doesn't get signed over there. And then your champion is Mullet Man. We all hate him. Boo, Mullet Man, boo. Boo, Mullet. We hate guys with stupid names and stupid haircuts. We hate them. No, Mullet and Jobs both have been tag teams for years and years and years. They're a couple fun-loving guys with mullet. He's got the mullet, and it's mullet time, and people respect the mullet up in Newport, Vermont, and they've respected that mullet for years. And we're gonna try to turn that around in Newport. We're gonna try to turn that respect around for the mullet because I don't know if he deserves it. But yeah, so yeah, that's oh yeah, and then so I'm just rambling now. But no, Top Rope Promotions. I was there last year. I got to talk to you about well, Lucas Chase was there. George Joel was doing some wrestling there. It was really, really cool. Feud of the year though. Elias Markopoulos and DJ Powers. DJ Powers is like this young kid. I say kid, everybody's a kid to me, sorry. But like he's a young up and coming like talent. Fantastic work out there, but he just like to had the feud of the year with Elias last year for Top Rope Promotions. So as soon as that footage is out, watch all those matches. Seriously, like that,
Yeah.
it was blood hot, man. It was really something to watch. Um, and another one that really stuck out to me, Sarah Bully Jade. Um, she is fascinating. She's great. She's going to be a huge star too. She can keep herself healthy and
Hmm.
keep doing what she's doing because, like, seriously, like kicking some serious ass out there. So,
Right.
yeah, I definitely wanted to like mention those names because, like, I'm like, well, where am I going? What am I doing? And all that kind of stuff. And I guess I can say hi to Brody Jackson. Brody's another young and upcoming talent. He's young, he's brash, and he has a really annoying mustache. So yeah, we hate guys with really annoying mustaches too. Um, no, fan, he's a cool kid. Um, everybody else. Did you work in commercial radio or did you work in like college radio?
It was college radio, community radio after that,
Okay, all right. So I worked in like in college and commercial. I have never seen the size of ego in wrestling that I did in radio. I'm surprised by that fact. I've been out here 5 years. Maybe I'm the egotistical one then. I don't know. But no, it's weird. Like I would assume that some of these guys would be like, really up their own ass.
yeah.
But some of them have, but I have seen some radio DJs who were all the way up their own ass and made a fool of themselves, said really stupid stuff to me. Um, yeah, I I was like, man, I'm gonna really see some stuff out here. And I was like, I still haven't really seen a lot of stuff. Like people have been really like cool. It's surprising how cool everybody is out here to me. But also I also kind of figured out I kind of know why. That's because as an announcer, Del Santo, um, they have to be nice to you. They don't want to get cross with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? They have to sort of be nice to you. And I sort of realized that this year because like I started doing some managing, and the looks I got were different than the looks I usually get when I'm announcing. So that was unique. So I think as an announcer, people have to be nice to you,
Hmm.
and I think maybe this year we'll find out if they're not so nice. I don't know. I just noticed that the looks were different. Like I don't know. I'm very observant, and sometimes maybe I think too much into things, and I will say that right now that I do. But I sometimes I go, are they looking at me like that? Are they? I just walk on and do my thing. But yeah, I've seen some looks out there. I'm like, hmm. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this year pans out because um, yeah, I got a lot of things up my proverbial sleeve. So
Well, it's still early for both of us, really. And I wish you the best of luck in having a very good 2024. I know 2024, I plan on crushing it. I hope you do as well.
well, we should do this more often. Seriously, like let's just do like
I'm
some
for it.
weird roundup. We get to court, we get GK or whatever. We get a bunch of announcers together, and we do. You know what I mean? Like because
Yep.
the internet needs more like cool people on it. And
Not so many idiots.
sorry,
Let's
I'm
just
trying to.
say it.
It's reverse over here. It's him. He's awesome. That guy. No, seriously. No, seriously. Like, I know that we're a lot. I've been up all night too. Sorry. Um, we're alike minds more than we aren't. I think.
Mhm.
Um, definitely like just based on your music style, which is great. So, um, but yeah, man. I mean, let me know when you need an extra chair for your color commentary. I'll come drive out. You know that.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Why don't you tell everybody that's listening where they could find you on the social media?
you can find me hiding. Shawn Pi Jacobs everywhere, anywhere, everywhere. Yeah. And I guess on Spotify now as Pi R squared circle. That came together naturally, didn't it?
Mm.
Um, God, I love that how that kind of just came together. I was like, yeah, Pi R squared circle. Yeah, so that's on Spotify. I'm just messing around right now. Nothing on the regular. You want to subscribe because you'll be the first one to know when something drops. Smash that like button. Blah. Um, yeah, so that you can find me on there. I'm not great at the social media ing. Like I'll go on and post something and then I'll run away. Um, I don't like hanging out on social media all day. Like I'll be on Reddit or I'll be on YouTube watching crazy I'm watching a Trogley. There's a guy named Trogley and he does like guitar videos and he does stuff with the guitar. So I play every once in a while. Um, so yeah, Shawn Pi Jacobs everywhere. I'm thinking about doing like stupid other watch alongs and stuff. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I Because we again, there's whole new. It's so weird, man, because technology hasn't changed and shifted as much as it has in the last 10, 15 years,
Right.
in 100 years, because people listened to the radio for years, for decades,
Decades.
and
Yeah.
TV for decades. So people got their media through like one way.
Now it's
And
all here. Now
now,
it's
well,
all
now
here.
it's all here, but it's YouTube and it's Spotify and it's Stitch and it's Switch and it's like and it keeps changing. Then it's TikTok, and then it's
Yep.
like it just keeps like I just stop. Let's do stuff one place for now. Like I just it's the weirdest. So like to go from to going in debt, going to radio broadcasting school to watching everybody just pop up internet. Here I am and smash that like button, and everybody's got a fucking mic arm with a mic now. I see you got one, but you're fine because you're a pro. But like everybody's got the fucking mic arm now. I'm like fucking. You couldn't buy those back in when I was on the radio. You had to go to a surplus store or some shit. Now
Yep.
everybody, I'm watching some video earlier, just like because I'm trying to find new content to watch myself. But I'm like watching, I'm like, there's some guy with a fucking mic arm, and I'm like, where the fuck is everybody getting these shits? And I'm gonna have to go to Amazon, I guess. Yeah.
Amazon. That's
Amazon for
Amazon.
something. Yeah.
Shawn, I want to thank you for joining me today. We're definitely going to do this again. Where we're talking
Yep.
about obviously the Northeast, New England professional wrestling scene, or professional wrestling as a whole, because I don't just restrict it to my area, but I definitely love to push everything and the talent in my area and all my friends and people that I'm more than well aware of, because we can definitely sit here and talk about the guys that we work with, guys we know all day. We would never leave.
Yeah. One last thing. Johnny Pierce, you're 6'7" with a half-pound brain. Are you hearing me right now? Are you listening? Are you watching me, Johnny Pierce? Are you watching? Are you watching right now? Okay. Because March 9th, Saturday, March 9th, Derby, Vermont, at the Elks Club. Come join us, Johnny, because you got nobody left. You got no friends. You got no tag titles. You got nothing but your 6'7" frame and your half-pound brain. And I hope you bring it. I hope you bring it Saturday, Elks Club in Derby, Vermont. Bring it, Johnny, because me and Jobs will be waiting for you to do work.
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next week.